artists feed off the longings of what's happening in people, they sense are happening in people, dependent on what the circumstances are in the world, what's actually going on. And in my time, in the 80s and 90s, the computer games, a lot of the computer games that I played that were very, very popular, what they actually depicted were people walking around various landscapes and settings on their own, feeling like they were very much out of their time. And most of these games were in the early 1990s. As things were starting to develop, that things were getting busier and more frenetic. And some of them were series of games with the same character. I played a lot of sort of role-playing games, detective, PI games, things like that. But another really big one was a game called Myst, MYST, that spawned quite a few sequels. And they were all about discovering the truth in a very solitary setting. And this is what artists sort of thrive on. It's senses of things and the sort of sixth sense that we talk about. But the truth is, maybe there are some prophetic people, maybe there are more mysteries, metaphysical mysteries that we're not fully aware of and that we can't necessarily prove, but that we feel. And the truth is, we can never definitively know anything, really. I mean, it's very, very difficult to find sort of objective truths when we are talking about politics and culture. And what you'll actually witness if you spend any time on social media is how people often, under the guise of being truth seekers, well, what they're actually really after is being right. And life is a series of choices, some big overarching ones, and other smaller day-to-day things. And one of the overarching truths, I believe, is that people either want to be right or they want to be happy. War is not just governments and institutions spending billions or trillions on bombing the shit out of other places in the world. No. And we know this. We are warlike beings if we choose to be, Oh, well, this diet is right and that one's wrong. And it's like, well, yeah, okay. But regardless, behaving angrily is never going to convince anybody of anything. We don't really ever convince people. We present how we see the world, and certain people will look at that and they'll think, oh, yeah, I like that. I'm going to start doing that. That's not me convincing somebody. It's just me presenting information and leaving people to make decisions for themselves. That is the peaceful way of living. And in that scenario, what's actually happening is there's an awakening of something that is within that other person, because life is inside out. There's an awakening and a realization, a discovery of whatever the particular thing is. And that person starts living in accordance with that instinct, that calling, that reflex, whatever it is. And we try and come up with words and phrases and terminology to try and sum all of this stuff up. But it's very, very difficult to do. Because another thing that I experience a lot is people have wildly often different definitions of the same thing, of words, of principles, of events. There is the truth. I fundamentally believe that. But there are as many perspectives of that truth as there are people in the world. And people change their minds as well. Things evolve. Things take time to develop. And to me, the more that I see people engaging in discussions of things, trying to establish what is absolutely true, is so fantastically pointless. What matters more than anything is human connection, because war is just the dissolution of human interaction, a peaceful human interaction. And being angry has never ultimately helped anybody. And this can play out over weeks, months, years, decades, centuries. It's all an experiment. And I'm really realizing that we have vast amounts of energy, but that we waste it on trying to prove things right. That even the conclusion, if it were possible to have everybody agree on various things, wouldn't make any difference anyway. You'd still be in the same position. On a daily basis, my friends, on a daily basis, what makes the most difference in a positive direction, in a peaceful direction, in a prosperous direction where more and more people are benefiting? That's what I'm looking for more and more. But of course the ego gets in the way because I want to be right. But we say that there's a mental health crisis. Yeah, absolutely. Not being able to deal with fucking reality. Not being able to deal with things as they are. Radical acceptance. And I know that a lot of people are really afraid of that, meaning that they're going to be some kind of doormat. I say the opposite, because if you're angry, you can't make good decisions. I'm not saying that we don't feel anger, but deal with it. That's why I'm in therapy. It's why it's fantastic, because it's really helping me to actually address what is within my control, what's within my power, and how to behave from here on in. I think people believe that talking about all these things and getting angry about them in public is somehow going to reverse things that have happened in the past. It's a form of mental illness, and it's the most widespread one, frankly. Honestly, I think it's the most widespread mental illness, because it keeps people trapped. And I see prisoners everywhere. I see people suffering everywhere. I see people vengeful and resentful. And it's interesting, actually, that a lot of the people that I watch, I've kind of overlooked this because I enjoy the entertainment of the content that they provide. But it will lead people towards people that a big example actually of this is J.K. Rowling, of loads of people saying, oh, well, yeah, they're not very well written, or, oh, yeah, she didn't actually write them, somebody else wrote them, and then they put her as the figurehead. And the thing is, let's say that all of that is true. Let's say that she had absolutely nothing to do with writing those books, that one story alleges she was approached on a train with somebody connected to the Mitford family. You know, that's an old aristocratic family here in this country. Let's say all of that's true. She's got absolutely nothing to do with it. Well, to me, even the idea that somebody could create such wildly popular and evocative books, writing, whatever it is, whether you think it's good or bad, that person has loads and loads of money. Wish them well. Wish them well. Because you'll often find it's just envy and jealousy of people that will say, oh, well, you know, the person that we called Shakespeare, he didn't actually write them. It was this earl from this person, you know, from this time. And actually this earl was the son of Elizabeth I. But they kept that secret. And it's like, okay, good luck figuring that one out. And even if you did figure it all out, again, what difference would it make? If you want to have a joyful and abundant life, believe these things are possible, and then go out and take action on that principle. Let's say J.K. Rowling was this single mother, no money. She wrote books in a cafe in Edinburgh and she became a multi-millionairess. Why not? Why not? Because acting out of resentment or envy or anger will never bring you fantastic, life-affirming results. It won't. Often critics are failed exponents of whatever it is that they're feeling resentful about. You know, stage school mothers who didn't have the careers that they wanted and put their heart and soul and effort into making sure that their daughters are wildly successful. Yeah. Prisons everywhere. And I don't want to live in prison anymore because I imprisoned myself by making too many allowances and trying to figure out what the other person was thinking and feeling and doing, and pointless. We can only control ourselves. So wish everybody well, even your greatest enemies. Don't wish that they will be better. Don't pray for them that they will be better. Pray and wish and send out a message to the universe that there is a possibility, even the possibility that those people could improve their lives and suddenly see the light and act out of love and harmony and peace. Wishing that to the universe is only ever going to be a positive thing because it's more joy and freedom in the world. And my friends, this is the point. You can choose this whenever you wish.